So I just started the recording. You can opt out if you want. I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for coming today. I think this is really exciting to be able to offer this to homeschool families in Alberta. So welcome. And we have more people joining, sorry. So my name is Golda, in case you haven't heard me, haven't met me before. We're just setting up a meeting. Sorry, I should introduce someone who is helping me with this. This is Suzanne. She's from EF Tours, and she's going to help me today with this presentation because I'm kind of new at this. This is my first time, so she's going to help answer questions that we can answer today. And we're going to have our questions at the end. So stay tuned, and I will have recorded this. I hope it works because I have not done that before either. So, oh, there's another one. Suzanne, can you, are you able to let people in, or it is not working?
I don't have access. It's not showing up for me, unfortunately.
Okay. Well then, we will not be doing that. Okay. So, here is, I'm going to start off by talking about myself, and I also want to let you know why I decided to do this. I think that in home education, children don't get the same opportunities as kids in school get, and so I wanted to make sure that they did. And that's why I personally decided to go forward with this travel plan. One of the things I noticed, if you don't know me, I'm a home education facilitator in Alberta. I also homeschool my own son, and I'm kind of passionate about making sure that kids have opportunities that they have in the school system, because I think I want it to be fair for everybody to give them the same opportunities. But I also traveled myself. So my son and I lived in China when he was 4 to the age of 6, and I also lived in the Arctic. And so I got passionate about travel because it teaches you so much, not just about who you are, but about culture and I guess who you are not as well. And I think that some of those experiences really can change how you see the world in a positive way most of the time. So, and I want the same thing for students in Alberta that are homeschooling. I want the same opportunities to be offered to them. I think that it helps us expand our knowledge of the world around us, but also gives us a clearer view of who we are as human beings and who we are situated in our culture as opposed to someone else. And you can learn a lot from books. I love reading, but I don't think it's the same as actually traveling and immersing yourself in a culture and immersing yourself in a space that you wouldn't normally be able to go to. I know too from being a school principal, so I'm a facilitator right now of homeschooling, but I used to be a school principal. And when I was a school principal, one of the groups of students went to Italy. And I think that was when they came back, they had more confidence. They saw things slightly differently. They had learned a lot about currency conversion and geography and the language that they learned before they left was a really interesting experience to watch them come back just a little bit different. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to offer this too. I think especially now in this world where we live, where things are so polarized, it's really nice to have a wider perspective, a different view of things, even just for a little while. And I think that our goal is I think our goal is just to make that available to your children too. And I say children, I also invited families, so I know that some adults might be coming as well, and I want the same thing for you, but I just want to make it clear that this is a geared towards student trips. So just so you know, like the way that it's structured is for students. even though adults, of course, are welcome, because I was inviting homeschooling families, not just homeschooling kids. Okay. So what we're going to cover today is the impact of educational travel, because that's what this is. It's not a vacation or a holiday, it's educational travel. So it's a little bit different than what you might experience as a family when you travel. We're going to talk about travel and safety. We're going to talk about the itinerary that we have on our trip to the Galapagos Islands and Ecuador. We're going to talk about the cost of it and the payment options and how to enroll. And we will answer all of your questions at the end. So that's kind of the roadmap of how we're going to conduct this presentation. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, and if either of us can answer, we will ahead of time. Okay. I think Suzanne is going to start speaking now. So thanks, Suzanne. Suzanne is living in Victoria, British Columbia, and she is one of the people. She's the person who helped me set up this tour. I started talking about these tours about 5 years ago, and when EF Tours called me and said, "Are you still interested?" Suzanne was the one that they set me up with, and she has been amazing at helping me figure out how to do this. So thank you, Suzanne.
Oh, thank you. What an introduction. Well, I mean, I feel like you summarized the impact of educational travel really well, but really our educational philosophy is really preparing students for the future and their futures. You know, we're an education and company first, and experiential travel is simply how we bring learning to life, helping students learn more about the world, themselves, and the impact that they can make in the world. And if you want to just switch to the slides. Right, so yeah, some of the data we've collected about the broader student experience is that 93% say that the tour expanded their knowledge of the world. 92% say the students discovered more about themselves. 89% say they understood more about new people and places and cultures. And I'd argue that it's more than 88% grew more confident and independent, but let's just see what type of experience that it will do for your child. Next slide, please. Yeah, a little bit, of course, about travel and safety. If you want to just switch to the next slide. Okay. Great. So your child's safety is our #1 priority. We would never send a traveler to any location that is unsafe. With our extensive global presence, our best in industry experience, and close working relationships with both international and domestic authorities, it's a statement that we can actually back up with real insight. We have over 55 years of experience. It'll actually be 60 next year, which means we've seen it all and know how to respond. We have 612 offices around the world. And with your tour in mind, we have our regional office in Panama and language school right in Quito, just in case you need any extra support. We are where you are and always know what's happening on the ground, which is critical in an ever-changing environment. Go to the next slide, please.
It's actually the reason I picked EF Tours too, is because when I was a principal, I saw the focus on safety, and that was important.
Perfect. Yeah, it's very important to us. Like, we actually joke that, you know, although we're education first, we're actually safety first. We do actually have the largest safety and security team in the industry with 24/7, 365 coverage, which what that means for both the groups on the road as well as parents back home is that you can connect with a live English speaking representative during an emergency, regardless of the time of the day, whether it's 2 in the morning or 8 at night, you can always connect with us. We'll go to the next slide. So yeah, our travel team. And so we all breathe and love travel. And as Golda mentioned, I'm working with Golda closely to develop this trip. And you as parents actually have access to our amazing traveler support department. So that's actually a picture of Shannon. She's just one of an entire team that is dedicated to answering any and all of your questions. We'll actually have the direct phone number on the last slide, as well as on the enrollment page. This number will be plastered everywhere. So whether your questions about insurance, about payment options, about anything you could possibly imagine, Shannon and her team are there to help support you. All right, I'll throw this back to you, Golda.
Okay, we're planning on going to Ecuador. I'm glad that you all came to learn about this exciting trip. We're going to go in February of 2026, so we have some flexible dates, so that brought down the cost a little bit. The reason that I actually, when I started this, I had to think about, like, I tried to kind of put together a team to help me decide where to go, and nobody that I asked at the time wanted to help. So I just chose Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands because I wanted to go there. So that's kind of how we came to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands. But one of the things I'm most excited to see in Ecuador and the islands are those giant turtles, of course. The Charles Darwin Research Center is there. I think that's going to be exciting to see. We're right on the equator, so we get to see where the equator is. That's kind of one of the features that, and there's a poncho making workshop, I think, too, which is kind of would be interesting in Ecuador. So those are the kind of the highlights that I wanted to, I kind of thought was interesting about this trip. What about you, Suzanne? What did you like about Galapagos?
Oh, it's honestly like being in this uninterrupted zoo. Like I was snorkeling and I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Turtle. And then I came up and there was this like wedge-tailed eagle flying over my head, penguins everywhere. I don't know if you're a bird enthusiast, but like you'll see pictures of it later, the booby, which is the blue-footed booby, and like it's called the friggin, and it's got this red velvet thing, and when it's in heat it just jumps around like that. It's the animals, and like the people of Ecuador are just so friendly and welcoming. It's an incredible country everywhere. Like South America is wonderful, but there's just something really special about Ecuador.
I forgot about the snorkeling. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, that was a big highlight for us for sure. It was just
Yeah.
like it's incredible to see all these animals in their natural habitat.
Yeah. Okay, the next slide is about travel dates. So we're going February 2nd to the 10th. There's going to be a 9 days on tour, and we're leaving from Edmonton. The exact date of leaving is flexible. That actually brought down the price a little bit. So there we'll find out soon, closer to the date. I think you told me when that's going to be, right?
About 3.5 months before you depart, you'll know the exact confirmed departure date.
Okay. So we will be leaving as early as February 2nd or as late as February 10th of 2026. So I want you to mark your calendars because that's when we're going. I think it's going to be a great trip. Let's see. Okay, so here's the trip. You can speak more to this, I think, because I read the itinerary, but there's a lot of words in there that I like. I don't know how to say some of these. Isabella Island, is that right?
Yeah, Isabel
Okay.
Island, Santa Cruz, and San Cristobal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be spending half the time there in the Galapagos and the other 3 nights in Quito. You'll usually be landing probably late at night on day one, and then day two you'll have your wonderful excursion to go to the museum, the Yucatan Museum. Actually, if you go to the next slide, it'll show some of the highlights.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
First day, fly to
The line.
Ecuador.
I felt like a fool. The guy was like, look, the toilet's flushing one way on this side, and then it's flushing this way on the other side. I'm like, oh, cool, because someone told me it's not legit, but I believe everything. And I thought it was super cool. And of course, the balancing, you could feel the gravitational pull. And you have to try the chocolate. Oh, there's something about the chocolate in Ecuador that's just incredible. That flight over to the Galapagos was just breathtaking. When you're flying in, it's just like a whole other world. The Charles Darwin's Research Center is incredible. They actually put some turtles where they had the food outside of their crate, and then in the other side it was outside and inside, so you can see the ones that had to get the food. They had elongated necks, so you can understand where the evolution sort of came from on how the animals are, how they're kept, and their quarters. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember everything that I learned there. It was so much, but it was just an incredible, like if you actually go to the next slide, I believe it was Isabella Island. Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
it was Isabella Island. Like I said, seeing the animals in their natural habitat was just something I'll never forget. Um, you name the bird, it lives there. The wedge-tailed eagle has like the largest wingspan in the world. That was just incredible to see right up front. And yeah, it's there are lots of hiking, so be prepared. There's lots of outdoors, and it's just, like I said, a magical place to go. And then, of course, it ends back flying out of Quito, where you go to Galapagos Mountain, and then, yeah, fly safely home on the 9th day of the tour.
I think I talked to an organizer in Saskatchewan. She was the one that kind of helped guide me in how to be a tour organizer. And she said that they pack 3 weeks of stuff in 9 days, and you can see how many things you do in one day. I thought that was a good description, actually. So here's the rest of the tour. Day 8, we go to a day trip to Otavalo.
Yep.
Did I say that right? Okay, and
Yep.
we explore the local markets. There's a waterfall that we go to, and then day 9, we travel home. Okay, and I think someone did ask a question. We can save that for the end, but the question I think was interesting because it's right in the middle of how long is the boat travel?
Yeah, so it's a couple hours from each island back to Santa Cruz. So you're looking at 3 hours. The boat size, of course, we had about 28 on our boat. They might separate into two boats going over. Yeah, if you do get seasick, I definitely recommend bringing gravel. But I mean, most of us were just lied out on the front, just enjoying the ride. If you don't get seasick.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks. So, although this is a comprehensive travel program, a few things that you want to prepare for is just to budget some extra money, some spending money on tour. There's extra free time. The tour director will have some fun activities that they'll recommend, depending on how the group's feeling and the weather. And although EF does cover breakfast, dinner, and lunch on the islands, students are responsible for lunches in Quito, as well as some snacks. And of course, at the pre-departure meeting, there'll be gratuities for the tour director, bus driver, and local guide that Golda will be collecting for later. And then, of course, passports and visas. If you want to actually go to the next slide. There's a reason that this is so large. I don't know if anyone's tried to get a passport lately. I mean, it's not as bad as 2022, but still does take some time. And although you don't need a passport to enroll today, you will need to make sure that your passport is valid for 6 months after the return date if it does expire before February. My goodness, I mean, this is in 2026, so you definitely have some time. So again, you don't need to have a passport, but just make sure whatever name you're enrolling with will match your passport exactly. You have up until 110 days to change that on the website without any penalty. And then for any non-Canadians traveling, you just need to check with your respective consulate to see if there's any necessary visas to get. And of course, the Traveler Support Department will assist with any of those documentations, any supporting documents you may need. All right. Oh, the fun stuff, insurance. So EF has a few different ways to make sure that both yourself and your investment are protected. So the Global Travel Protection Plan, you can think of as your on-tour insurance, and cancel for any reason as your pre-tour insurance. So the Global Travel Protection Plan is your medical accidental, trip cancellation interruption, and baggage. And then, of course, cancel for any reason is exactly as it sounds. It's if you're canceling for a non-insurable reason, like loss of interest, or there might be a sports game, you can definitely make sure you check out all of the different dates of if you were to cancel by what the refund would be. But for the cancel for any reason, you can cancel all the way up until 24 hours before the tour departs and receive 80% of the program price back, which is pretty amazing. And then our peace of mind policy is exactly as we mentioned earlier, is that safety is at the forefront of everything we do. So if as a group you decided, hey, you know what, we're not feeling pretty good about Ecuador right now, then up until 45 days, then you can change the departure date of your trip. You can change the destination, whatever that looks like, so that you feel good with peace of mind. The next slide, please.
I do have a question about visas. Is there a visa required for Canadians to travel to Ecuador?
No,
No.
there is not.
Okay, so if you're a Canadian citizen, you don't need a visa to go to Ecuador. Because somebody asked about visas. That's a good question.
Mhm.
Okay,
Great. So for this comprehensive program, it includes basically everything: your airfare, hotels, breakfast, dinner, lunch on the islands, all the activities, the tour director, which you'll come to realize is going to be the bread and butter of everything. One of the things I actually really want to highlight on this page is that tour donation page. So that is like a mini GoFundMe page. So when you enroll, you actually get a link, and you can send that link out to family and friends. And instead of a ugly sweater from grandma for your birthday, you can get the gift of travel. And every donation made goes directly towards your personal balance. And that travel gear is the ever popular EF backpack that everyone will receive.
I did not know about the backpack. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a great way. It's, so you can recognize your group, and some schools will actually, bedazzle it and do some things that match or whatnot, but you can, have your own creativity when you get your backpack.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so for all of this, if you want to go to the next slide. So this comes out to anybody who is 19 and under. This price does include insurance, both the Global Travel Protection Plan and cancel for any reason. And it comes out to $6,258 or 20 monthly payments of $303. For adults, anybody that is 20 or older, it's $7,248 or $353 for the next 20 months if you enroll in the month of June.
Okay.
Then we actually have a fun little thing for tonight if you want to go to the next slide. So if anyone who enrolls within the next 2 days, you're going to be entered into a draw. And then Golda's going to take everyone who's enrolled and pull out 2 lucky winners of $100 off your tour. And that'll be announced on Thursday, June 13th. So stay tuned for that.
I should mention too that there's a limited amount of spots. We decided to go with 1 tour bus, which is 36 people at this time, right?
Yeah, actually, the next slide is the monthly payment plan.
Oh, okay.
Where I see LaToya. So we have a few different options for the payments. So number 1, pay in full, is pretty self-explanatory. The automatic payment plan, which to me by far and large is the best. To have $300, that's like a part-time job, maybe 2-3 days a week, teaches students financial literacy and how to budget. It's great because it comes automatically out of your bank account, so checkings or savings. You can select the date that you would like it withdrawn as well. You could have it done bi-weekly if that's your preference. If you were adamant about paying with a credit card and getting those points, the manual payment plan might be the best option for you. So it's a series of payments of the $199 plus insurance, 2 more payments of $500, and then the remaining balance due at 110 days. But you can also make any payments you like within that time period, as long as those minimal payments are made. And then option 4 is really great if you're looking to have smaller payments over a longer period of time. So Uplift is a third party that would pay for the entirety of the tour, and you would pay them back directly, even after the tour's returned. So it's a great option, and our wonderful traveler support department can provide insight into what that looks like, how to enroll on it, and then what those extra fees may be.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, yeah, some of the highlights, there's the blue-footed booby, just the coolest thing ever. Like, that blue just shines, and all the birds are just so incredible. And the turtles, and this is just another picture of Keto that I love, which when I was eating chocolate, I probably had way too many to count. But if you want to go on to the next slide with the question on how to enroll. So this is a QR code that'll take you directly to Golda's enrollment page. So as you mentioned, there is only 36 spots left. If we do have more, then what we'll do is go on to a wait list, and then we'll see what the interest is at that point to see how we'll proceed. If you're like my father, who's Italian and refuses to put his credit card online, you can call in tomorrow to that phone number below. That's the traveler support department. So I strongly encourage taking a picture of that phone number as well, just because if you do have any questions about insurance, or if any of the payment options did not work for you and you want to make an alternate payment plan, we're more than happy to create a flexible payment plan for you, as long as you just call in and let us know. And I'll actually put another direct link into the chat line right now. But yeah, we'll open it up to any questions right now while I'm getting the link.
So one of the questions that I know I can answer is, how old does a kid have to be to go on the trip? And the answer is 6 years old and up. And if they're 6 to 11, they need to have a parent with them as well. So you'd also have to pay for an adult ticket. For the children 12 and up, we do have supervisors that I've gotten to agree to come and help me make sure that everybody's safe. So 6 to 11, is that right, Suzanne? I think that was right.
Yeah, it's from 6 to 10. Yes, they need to have, you'll have to actually call in to enroll. Because of your date of birth, it'll say, you know, that you need to have a parent that's there that's not a chaperone. And then, yes, anybody that's 11 and older can feel free to enroll online right now.
Okay. Somebody asked if it was interest-free.
Yes, like the automatic payment plan. Yeah, like that price is including tax, including everything. And once you enroll, that price is locked in regardless of what happens in the industry. So if you're looking at coming, definitely lock in your spot now. So as we keep seeing prices increase, especially here in BC, I don't know if anyone here has been to the island, but fruits and vegetables are ridiculous.
Yep, here too.
I see some of that food allergy.
Sorry, that initial deposit, is it added to, is that a deposit and it's
It goes
added?
towards the balance. So it's
Okay.
it's the price minus $199 once you pay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm,
Yeah. So let's start at the top. Sleeping arrangements. So students are roomed 3 or 4 to a room, and adults are roomed 2 to a room. If a student would like to room with their parent, then there is a $40 per hotel night supplement, unless there's 2 children and 1 adult, or 2 adults and 1 children. Then we can create a family room. And then if there's any adults who would like to have their own room, it's also $40 per hotel night. Food allergies for meals. Yes, we will be collecting lists. You can also call the traveler support department and they'll note it on your account. You'll see that we do a lot of over communication. So at the pre-departure meeting, we'll be collecting yet again if there's any allergies that may have been missed, or if there's any meal preferences like vegetarian. We'll want to know everything ahead of time so that we can update not only the flights, but on the ground and the restaurants.
and if they're quite serious allergies, I think that's a concern, right? Because there is no guarantees on airplanes or anywhere else. I think I read that in the final.
Oh, you can never, yeah, like peanuts.
Yeah.
I actually saw a lady denied boarding. She was yelling about her son's peanut allergies, and they actually said, sorry, you can't board because you're too much of a risk if it's that much, because no one can control the general public on what they bring onto the airplane. So please definitely let us know and we will do our very best. But yes, similar to an airline, we can't control what the general public is bringing on if it's an airborne, for example.
Yeah. There was a question, child and parent going, would both the child price and adult price be combined? I'm not sure. I think that just comes out of the bank account in 2 separate payments. Is that right?
It's all your date of birth. So when you enroll, it'll give you a student price and the adult price based on your date of birth. And then the fees would be just accumulated of those 2.
Okay, when is the final payment date is the next question.
Yeah, so it really depends on which payment method you choose. So if you choose the automatic payment plan, you have up until 25 days to make your final payment. If it's the manual payment plan, it's 110. And if you choose Uplift, it could be forever. It's it could be months after the trip's even returned. So that's why I strongly suggest you call that phone number if you'd like to get on Uplift, or if you'd like to make an alternate payment plan.
So I can answer this next part of this next question about sleeping arrangements. Oh, students that don't have parents, do they get roomed with an adult? And the answer is no. They would be roomed with another children. And actually, we're going to form little teams of kids that are roomed together, because that we wanted them to build like the experience together. Because I think that's actually one of the valuable things about student travel, is that they kind of work together and they experience things together and they bounce the ideas off of each other. So of the children that don't have parents, or even ones that do have parents on the trip, they might want a room with other kids, and we will do our best to have positive sleeping arrangements. I think EFT does that, right, Suzanne?
Yep, so students are roomed 3-4 to a room, and adults are 2 to a room. And
Yeah.
all same-sex gender as well. Yep.
Yeah.
To Chris and Lisa, yep, you can definitely extend your trip. So that traveler support number, that's who you would call. And then you would just give them the details of which era gateway you'd like to fly out of and when. And then there is a special travel service fee, I believe, of $50, 65, I'm so sorry. And then if you're flying out of like Lima, for example, you would just pay maybe the difference if applicable. But yep, you can definitely, as long as you're doing any special travel before 150 days before departure, my suggestion is to do it immediately. Because the great news is that we're able to also start working on your trip once we have the first few enrollments, which it looks like we already have. So yeah, definitely secure your spot. And I think there was a question too about do you pay now or when it times to go? So when you enroll with the 199, that locks it in, and then it depends on which payment method you've chosen.
I think another part of that question I didn't I'd prefer to be only with my child. So that was
Yep.
one of the questions. Yeah.
So
And
then that would be a
there was
twin
price.
room upgrade. So it'd be 1 adult, 1 child, and it's $40 per hotel night for the child to upgrade to a twin rooming.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So is there any other question? Oh, I see. Never mind. If we enroll now, is the enrollment fee refundable?
Yep, so if you choose to cancel for any reason, then up until 110 days, like, so the insurance is never refundable, that's why you have that, but the 199 is refundable. And then it's 80% back of like the 395 cancellation fee. So it's the insurance that you don't get back, because that's why you have insurance, to protect you. So if you change your mind, then it would be 80% of everything paid minus the non-refundables, which is just the cost of insurance. The insurance is $199 for the global travel protection plan and $149 for the cancel for any reason. If you would choose, if you can show Golda an alternative insurance, that's totally fine. You just have 30 days to withdraw out of ours, just so that you can make an informed decision about canceling the Zurich insurance that's currently being offered.
Okay.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like,
Okay.
we'll
Yeah,
make it
we
easier.
included
It's an opt-out program. Mhm.
yeah, we included it in the price on purpose because I wanted to make sure everybody had the opportunity to be able to cancel for any reason. And the
payment-
breakdown, which slide was that?
That's back, yeah, right there, I believe. Oh,
No,
is it the payment slide or the payment breakdown?
I think this is the price details.
Oh, okay,
slide,
yes.
right?
And yes, everyone, I don't know about you guys, after the pandemic, yes, everyone should have insurance. Myself included, I now will never go without it, because we definitely learned our lesson.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you don't want to type.
And I'm sorry, like, I know there should have been automatic reminder emails. You should have received 3. I think sometimes it may go to junk or clutter folder. So maybe, Golda, what I'll do is I'll send you a copy and paste template that you can send out to everyone, which will have that direct link, as well as a reminder about the that draw that's going to take place on Thursday or Wednesday night, I guess.
Yeah. I am too, like, we had 151 enrolled for this meeting and 54 people that wanted information sent out afterwards. That was a lot. So there is only 36 spots. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to pressure anybody, but I don't want anyone to miss out. Can you pay a month before the trip is another question.
It's one of those payment options. So if you go back, because the full balance, unless you're on the automatic payment plan, needs to be paid at 110 days, which is about 3 months out. Oh, sorry, actually, if you go down, Golda, closer to the end.
Okay, I was trying to remember.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, so the manual payment plan, that might be the best option for you. just because then you can make the smaller payments, and then the full balance is due at 110 days, which is 3 months out. If you do need an extension to pay before, like, you can't pay it all, like you have to have a deposit down, because of course we're purchasing the flights and hotels and all that space. But if you call into that traveler support department and say, can you please make an extension, or can you make an alternate payment plan? We're more than happy to. We want to be flexible and help you wherever is needed. The flight, I'm trying to remember my flight. We went through Texas. I was flying out of Toronto. My gosh, I know we landed late at night, and then we call it stupid o'clock in the morning. There's something about South America that's the typical flight path, is that you'll arrive late on day one and you leave early on the final day. And I want to say it was like 8 hours, 7 hours from Toronto. My goodness. I think if you could Google a flight to Ecuador and get an approximation from Edmonton, that's for sure.
I will try to email a link to the presentation. I'm not sure if it recorded properly though. So if I look at it, it's not recorded properly, I won't be able to do that. But if I can, I will. So yes, I will email everybody who is on that list the presentation link, which will probably go up on YouTube or something like that. Another question.
Yeah, how much money? So it's really, again, fluid to the spending habit of each individual. I personally was fine on 40 American dollars a day. But, I actually bought a lot of really cute things in the Galapagos. They had some adorable shopping, but just because it was so unique and one of a kind. But for lunches, I mean, I think we spent 10 American, 15 American each day. So yeah, not too much, not like Europe, that's for sure. Again, it depends on your spending habits of when you're going shopping. Oh, luggage. So what's included is one checked piece of luggage and one carry-on.
Which airline do they usually use, Suzanne?
We only use major carriers. So I flew with United. We use Air Canada. What was the other one? Avianca. Yeah, you'll have, so the kind of breakdown is that you'll get your confirmed departure date at around 110 days. So it's like close to when the final deadline is for all participants to be enrolled. And then you'll receive your flights between 60 and 80 days. And as a traveler, you'll actually be able to see your hotels and your flights and everything on your personal site when you enroll around 3 weeks, 21 days before departure. Your final itinerary will all be there, all pretty for you. But we'll also have a pre-departure meeting about a month before you depart. So you can give the backpacks out and all the information. Maybe have like a nice common space to have it. Or if we do it through Zoom, then we can just make sure that the backpacks are at the airport, or we can figure that out.
Okay. And this is the question, if the flights are delayed, do we still get the 9 days at the destination?
Yeah, I mean, we're really at the mercy of the airlines. Our hope is just to get you there as fast as possible. Like, we have a flight action plan. We will make sure that we get you there as soon as possible. And again, we're at the mercy of the airlines. So the trip would end when it does. That's why you'll notice that day 2 is more of a lighter day in the event that there's not too many planned activities. So that in the hopes that you're not really missing anything, but we'll make sure that all of our groups, we always include something else on the trip, but it would stay the 9-day duration. February is their summer. So you're not going in the winter season. So it's the opposite, which is nice. I went in March. No, I didn't. I went in the summertime, and it rained, but it wasn't too impactful. Yeah, February is a great time to go. I mean, every month is great.
I actually picked February because we're homeschoolers, so we can go at any time of year, and we will miss all the crowds of the spring breaks and the summer breaks and all of that usually people travel on. So
yes.
And also, that's a good point. February is the best month to be out of here. We live in North.
It'll be nice and warm where you're going.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions? Oh, do you know if they can get any school credit for this? So what you could do is if your child is enrolled in high school in Alberta, you could apply for a special project. So it could include language, culture, you could be studying about Ecuador, and you could apply for a special project. So it's 125 hours for 5 credits for special projects. And so you could put in for a special project. There is no CTS classes in Alberta for travel, but there is other credits that you could get, especially for special projects. So it could be, depending on your school and your facilitator. Okay, so I'm not sure about each individual school and what kind of home education credits they support, but you could ask your facilitator about creating a special project. So you'd have to have a grade and assessment, a mark, and you would have to figure out how to do that in order to get credits for that. But it is possible. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because I think we're almost finished. Is there any questions that you usually get, Suzanne?
There is actually one last question here about travel included to go from Edmonton, say from Calgary.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
It's all good. So it's the domestic transfer is not included. Now, we could speak to Golda about this if you're coming from an alternate gateway, about what that would look like. That's also special travel. So just like you can extend your trip, you could fly out of a different gateway. That just means that you'd be flying separately from the rest of the group. So it's again, maybe a question for Golda on the preference of if you'd like to all fly together as a group and maybe stay in a hotel the night before or whatever that looks like.
They can make alternative arrangements to go to Edmonton from Calgary. Is that right? Or meet us all in Quito? But it costs more money, a little bit more money, I think.
Yeah. And then, and then that's the thing too, is that if there is a student, they have to fly with an adult. They cannot fly on their own.
Yeah. And I did pick Edmonton because it's more central, because there's people coming at this meeting that are from Northern Alberta, which is 5, 6, 7 hours away from Edmonton north. And then Calgary is like 2, 3 hours, maybe that area. So I kind of picked a central location to fly out of. I had to pick one in Alberta. And there's more questions. Yeah, I understand. I'm 5 hours away from Edmonton.
It will definitely be 2 stops. Yeah, there are no direct flights, I believe. I mean, if there are, that's why we ask for the date flexibility to find the most direct routing for you. Yeah. And it's very typical to have 1 layover before heading to Quito. But if there are direct flights, then, you know, especially because you're going in February, not with the masses, then it's a higher likelihood if it's available for the airlines. Absolutely.
Is there any other questions you usually get, Suzanne, that hasn't been asked today?
Oh, it's usually about like Wi-Fi. Things like that. No, these are some common questions, you know, about like the food allergies and payments. No, so these are all great questions. And again, if you have any questions about the EF tour, please call the EF Traveler Support Department. They are happy to answer all of your questions. Because if you email Golda, she'll probably email me, and then I'll have to probably sometimes go to the Traveler Support Department to get the answer. So you can call us for a direct answer. They're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's a toll-free phone number. And like I said, they're always happy to help.
Right, Wi-Fi or data or local SIMs is another question.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember, because I mean, I'm aging myself. I went about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I know the hotel lobby had Wi-Fi. It's, you know, it's Latin America. It's not going to be as fast as it is here in North America. These eSIM cards are fantastic. I don't know, they work really well, and they're finally getting less expensive. You can get them online. If you just Google eSIM cards, there's so many companies like Areola, they offer it as well. So when you get closer, I mean, who knows? And actually, as a traveler, you will get 10% off an Areola eSIM card. So stay tuned for that. Oh, actually, I forgot about another fun fact is that 6 months before you depart, it's kind of like Duolingo, but it's called EF Hello. And we've partnered with Apple, and everyone's going to be getting free language lessons. So that'll be about 6 months before you depart. So you can learn Espanol and be ready to go. Vámonos.
And for the home education plans, there's a whole bunch of homeschooling applications here: language, culture, travel, geography, flora and fauna, animals that you would see that you would never see anywhere else. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I appreciate your time tonight, and I will email this out if it recorded properly. You never know if that's going to happen or not. And if you have any questions, like Suzanne said, this is the phone number to call. There is another question about safe countries to visit, but you can also email me, not with questions about EF tours, but if you have other questions that maybe they can't answer, like that homeschooling question, that was a good one. And I am looking forward very much to the trip. So is it typically a safe country to visit, Suzanne?
Yeah, like it's, again, we would never send anyone there that's unsafe. We've had about, I think, over 40 groups go just this past March break, and they all had a wonderful time. So we take safety very seriously. If it's not safe, if there's a travel warning of a level 3 or higher, then you won't be going, and we will have options available.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
Tracy, that mini GoFundMe link, it's honestly amazing, especially around Christmas and birthdays. Like, it's incredible to see the donations that students can get towards their balance. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I had the lady in Saskatchewan who I talked to. She was talking about how people set up their own little fundraising pods, kind of like they went to the grocery stores at Christmas time and got the percentage off for the grocery cards, or they got blue bags and put them on people's door handles, asking them to donate cans and bottles, and they raised enough money per month to fund their trip. So there's other fundraising options that we'll be coming up with in the near future and mailing it out to the people who've decided to join us, because I think that's a good question. As for reimbursement funding, though, just so you're aware, most schools would not be allowed to cover that for reimbursement funding because travel is specifically not allowed from Alberta Education. So as a facilitator, I can tell you that that would not be, it would probably be turned down, but you can ask, I guess, your school board. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop the recording now. If I can figure out how to do that. I really have to figure out this. There we go.